Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting episode of As the Crypto Stomach Churns. What? Wait a minute. That's not right. This is our Broiler Chicken Show. Always nice to hear that I'm alive on YouTube, so that's good. YouTubers, and I see there's a few of you over there. I'm sure there'll probably be a few more people stumble in over time. Feel free to say hi. I have you out of the corner of my eye. If you have a question, bark loud enough. I'll be more than happy to try and help you guys out too. We have a pretty quiet audience here this morning. Not too many people in the lounge. So, if anything, try and pop in on the weekends for these Broiler Chicken Show. You get undivided attention. Or not undivided, but maybe a little bit more. Versus Monday to Friday, where it's just an absolute zoo around here. So anyway, this is our weekend show. Really want to just take the opportunity. Usually we just talk about crypto. We had a great team meeting with our little trading triumvirate. And super excited about the future for TRI. Everybody seems to be firing on all cylinders again, which is very encouraging. The tools coming down the pike for you guys. Oh, I'm so envious. And I think actually we're going to put some tools together that is going to really drive a lot of public traffic to the site. So you think there's a lot of people around here now. Oh, boy. The cool part about it is you guys are actually, people watching right now, and you guys in the lounge, you're going to be considered like the grandfathers around here when this place gets absolutely insane. And I'm going to need you guys to be like, oh, I remember the days when there was only 100 people on the site. And people like Wayne, and I need you now to, you actually, and actually I often talk about this with people, right? In a weird sort of way, you actually have actually a pretty heavy responsibility on your shoulders. You have been shown the light, the way to do this. And there are, 5,999,999,900 and, well, maybe 900 others out there, and they're going to come. And they're going to be dependent on you to show them how to do this correctly. So anyway, welcome back to another exciting of Broiler Chickens. If you have questions, if you want me to look at anything in particular, like I said, a little bit quieter, a little less stress format over the weekend. Didn't do one last weekend. I was swamped with meetings. There really is no guarantee that I'm going to do these Broiler Chickens. And I think I actually did one later on in the evening, and I was pretty tired. So where do we want to begin? I suppose, we'll leave sort of broader market, stock market kind of talk. I will mention just off the top of my head, frankly, I'm shocked at how this political situation is going in the United States of America. I think, anybody who is a U.S. citizen and who's in our audience, please be aware that an outsider, I'm a Canadian sort of looking in on the picture from the outside, this political scandal it appears from outsiders that it's heating up, not cooling off. And what I'm really kind of sad about from your guys' perspective is when I was watching the Canadian journalist interpretation of the charges that are being laid, and people, basically pleading guilty, not even bothering to fight the charges. The Canadian perspective is they're quite shocked, and this goes right to Mr. Trump's core. I suppose one could argue that us being sort of crypto enthusiasts, we don't believe in the system anyway. So seeing the system, in essence, almost cannibalize itself, it maybe even imploding on itself through this gentleman, really, that's kind of music to your guys' ears. That wouldn't surprise me. But at the same time, we need to, be cognizant that this could get extremely tense. And it is a great anecdote of how I perceive these forces to act on our society through these fear greed cycle apexes. This, in essence, is a ultimate lack of confidence vote in the system. I don't know whether it's reflected in outright US dollar index weakness. I think, on balance, we've all bought into the idea that the fiat currency system and this concept of fiat currencies is delusional. It's not going to last forever. At some point, somebody's going to wake up and say, hey, this emperor doesn't have any clothes on. I hope, these transitional phases, I've seen, my studies, and I lived through the dot-com boom. It took a couple of years for you to actually see the change happening. On the US dollar index, for example, it didn't officially top and break down in earnest until well into 2001, even though we can make the argument that that sort of 2000 number was sort of the big pivot. If we go back and look at gold charts from, say, the late 70s, the price basically was just going parabolic straight up into that event. I think it's extremely dangerous to call markets in here. This is, in essence, I would argue, over the next 2 or 3 years, this is where a lot of careers are going to get destroyed. Both people are going to go all in on the long side on fear. And I see a lot of sort of new traders coming to the market. Look at me, I'll teach you how to trade cryptocurrencies and make $1 million being long. Way to go. I could see a lot of those people get sucked in very much like, I can't really comment on overseas, but definitely the American market. I watched everybody get sucked into the long side of the housing industry, where you literally couldn't lose money investing in real estate and just flipping it, and the way that ultimately played out. So I could see a lot of people in our society get sucked into the long side of crypto here over the next, and really, we actually have some anecdotal evidence that we like to use to sort of tell us how close we are to recession, because it will be when the recession comes, that will be sort of the cleanup, hit the reset button for the next cycle. The anecdotal evidence right now, the one that I like to use the most, which is just simply market-based, is the yield curve. And the yield curve at the moment doesn't seem to be showing any signs of inversion. It is interesting, a side project that James and I have sort of begun in earnest is we're going to bring my sort of weekly commodity trend survey reports that I used to do when I was a broker up to speed, and we were just going through, just slowly updating. It's a fun project he and I will be working on. And I noticed that, interestingly enough, short-term interest rates, the trend has actually been for short-term interest rates to be rising. The trend in prices in short-term interest rates actually going down for quite some time. And that actually kind of shocked me when I looked at this. And I also noticed, and we were sort of going through the longer end of the curve, and we're very confused. The curve itself is extremely confused right now. And we're noticing that the longer dated bonds actually are trying to bottom and start turning back up. So I don't think we have to worry about yield curve inversion just now. If we start, producing these weekly reports, and we see, you can see that the 10-year, for example, tried to turn up here recently, but its long stop was just hit. But if we start seeing that the longer end is starting to rally and trend higher in earnest, versus the short end trending down, of course, that is, in essence, that inversion scenario where short end rates are going up, long end rates are going down. So we're going to keep a close eye on this. It's not the case now. And we always have to be worried, I think, in the market about September, October. Historically, they're just nasty, nasty months. So it was sort of a big, phew, thank goodness. We got through September, October. We're now officially into November. Very rarely do stock markets crash in that post-October period. if anything, what I'm kind of thinking and what we left off the sort of team meeting was, maybe I had the chart up on itself, is I do think, in all honesty, that there's a pretty high probability of a political scandal in the United States. And so if technical corrections need to happen right now, I don't think that they are economy driven, which is good, right? That means no fear of recession. But I do kind of see things like AB equals CDs that take us up into these levels, and then those sort of political scandal-y kind of things bring us back down to 50% rules. And, you know, if the market does need to do a 50% retracement even now, a 52-week range right here is November. We need to be cognizant that the stock market at any given point in time, you can see this is not, why do I use a dark color here? I have no idea. Where's 100%? There it is. Maybe we'll do it like yellow or something so you can see it. There we go. So, you know, we just need to understand at any given point in time, the stock market has literally a good 20 points or about 10% what I would consider political risk at any given point in time. And of course, as we move up in time, the 50% level will rise, and we haven't topped out here. So it seems to me that high will rise as well. And looking at sort of AB equals CD kind of ideas, I'm thinking the stock market wants to reach up into this area. I was getting very close to feeling like we had tops coming in on the stock market here, but they just never came in. So as a result, just big hurry up and do nothing. And what would be really interesting is when James and I get down into the stock market and start digging apart the age of the trends and what the internal you know, levels are, for us to have that data in sort of like next week's Broiler Chicken Show. I can't wait for that. So super excited. I can't tell you how excited I am, James. That is James even here? No, he's not even here. Well, wherever you are, can't wait to get this thing filled out and rocking and rolling on this. So let's see. Obviously, there's really only one thing on your guys' mind. So why are you beating around the bush, Brian? Let's get to it. Come on. Ye old Bitcoin. In a weird sort of way, guys, I'm actually kind of losing interest in Bitcoin. Yeah, this is getting a little bit out of control. If anything, you know, my warnings previously, don't call tops. It's not in your best interests. Yeah, James, I'm totally stoked. James goes, yay, Brian, in the lounge. I can't tell you how stoked I am. And if anything, if we were doing our weekly commodity trend review, does it make sense that Bitcoin would be under sort of one of these where the trend is very old? It's not a brand new trend that's just trying to establish itself. If we did Bitcoin in one of these currency fields, I would actually be looking at this going, okay, we don't have a top yet, but I'm getting ready for that turn. And I'd just be counting the weeks of the age of this move. It's getting very old. It's getting very dangerous. And can you clearly see people who come in and buy Bitcoins now here? Oh my God. I mean, now you can understand, you know, $7,500 a piece. If this thing has to go back down to 80% correction, $1,500, they're fucked, right? They're not going to see those levels again for a long time. Very much like this. It kind of saddens me a little bit because, in essence, no offense, guys, but this is too far too fast. This is not sustainable over time. Enjoy it while it lasts. And really, if anything, this is a perfect anecdote to the fear cycle peak. People have lost interest in believing in their democratically elected politicians. They've lost interest in institutions like the greenback and the Federal Reserve. It's all a scam. And what I see coming out of Washington is these politicians are trying to ram down another tax cut for the poor. If anything, I beg your pardon, tax cut for the rich. The funny thing is the poor don't pay any taxes, so try and figure that one out. But the bottom line here is that the society, and I've already started to see it, the society itself has given the clear message that it has no interest in the rich giving themselves another tax cut. And the Republicans, it just seems like they are hell-bent on producing this tax cut. So in a weird sort of way, I kind of feel like this is a total self-fulfilling prophecy. The politicians are, in essence, almost stoking the fire of discontent. And it's driving people into things like Bitcoin. It's quite remarkable, really. It all comes together in just one big orgy. So, enjoy this. There's no doubt about it. It's fun if you got yourself in on the, off the bottom. It's extremely painful for those people that come in sort of halfway through the story. And of course, a guy like Brian, who's obsessed about risk and, keeps me up at night worrying about risk. You come to Brian and you say, well, do you think Bitcoin's a good buy here? And I go, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. This is risk central. And yet the damn thing keeps going up here. I mean, geez, I want my money back. But you have to understand, if I am a professional, and if I have learned anything over the past 30 years, is I can't endorse you guys chasing this. It sucks. And this is kind of why I say I kind of lose interest in this story. It irritates me. At the same time, though, I'm more than happy to keep spooning the market more coins if they want to keep taking this market up. For those that want to invest in the Bitcoin story, and what it really is it's a case of you just continuing to move your fibs up wherever the hell the market ultimately goes to, and then just hunting reload zones. And if and when the market gets back down into here, then we can start seriously thinking about investing in Bitcoins. And the message hopefully is, just extremely redundant. For those people that are interested in investing in altcoins, I don't think it's a good idea to go and just throw all your money at this thing all in one go. Yeah, we're in the upswing right now. 2 weeks from now, we've got a big fundamental event. We might have to go through a big downswing. So for those people, my simple recommendation is don't try and time this. Just simply, determine how much money it is you want to try and put into the altcoin market. And then over time, you're just going to dollar cost average your way in. You're going to pay a little bit up in some weeks, and over that, maybe 2-3 month period, maybe you're going to pay a little bit of down. Maybe what you're going to find is you do that strategy and your cost indeed rises, but Bitcoin just keeps going up. So you say, whew, thank God I actually bought a little bit at the beginning. You don't know, but the point here is that you're trying to average your way into the market. And of course, those people that can, I highly encourage you to pay yourself. The market is paying us now. Don't have to sell it all. I'm not thinking it's a good business to be in the business of calling tops just yet, but maybe just make a plan that, hey, I'm just going to spoon feed the market as we come into levels. All right, so for the shorter term person, okay, Brian, what are the levels? What are the levels? What are the levels? It's interesting how we used to watch OKCoin quite a bit here with the forwards contracts, but I did notice that recently there's been a big disconnect with OKCoin. We were talking in our group meeting, Ledger X is now up and running, and I pulled down all the swaps and options data going on in there, so we'll analyze that. The CME has said that they want to have their derivatives products up and running by the 14th of November, which I find really interesting considering that all this fork FUD is supposed to happen shortly thereafter that. I find it very coincidental that they want to get this thing up and running ahead of that event. So I'm wondering what the relevance of a place like OKCoin is going forward. And I was musing on the net and stuff. Gee whiz, something's gone wrong in OKCoin. Basically, they're giving away the contracts relative to the cash market. And one of our alumni, JC, he pointed out that these forwards are after the SegWit event, and the reason why they're trading at a discount is because they're basically trading as if there is no SegWit fork, post fork, if you will. If you look at that SegWit event as, kind of a dividend payment, which a lot of people in this space like to do, then what this is basically saying is that this asset here being priced at this level, it's delivered in December and it's delivered after the fork. So if you're thinking along those lines, and it seems to me that the market seems to be thinking that way, then clearly this fork is going to be one hell of a big event here. And it kind of makes sense if you can think of it that way, that what's happening here are people are buying into the dividend payment. As well, if we think about the way that these things have acted prior to previous forks, this is the fork back in August. We had a big run up ahead of the event, then a consolidation into the event. So maybe that's what we're getting now. Big run up, and then we consolidate into the event, and then, oh boy. If we look at the internals, and I remember in previous bulls we did this before. I haven't really talked too much to you guys about this recently, but we were kind of thinking that we're coming up to AB equals CDs and some bearish crab patterns. 1618 looked really interesting. And I had said, guys, remember, this is a PRZ. P stands for potential. And then we looked down at our indicators and we were kind of like, geez, that really isn't that great looking of a divergence. And then we looked at the volume indicators and we're like, okay, so we have a location here. Yeah, Willie is overbought. Divergence, okay, well, let's watch volume and let's see who just sort of takes over here now that we're at this trade location. W's coming in on OBV. Bears just disappeared. Hopefully everybody can see, actually, bears quite literally falling asleep here. Actually, W's coming in on OBV, on Willie, with Willie being stupid. So, high risk trade anyway, you shake it. But I suppose, Davo aficionados might be, hey, wow, this is a really powerful short-term bullish momentum signal here. And sure enough, vroom, up we go. So clearly the P was the most important point of that PRZ. Potential. And we were even watching this nice little inside bar that day, and I was just like, well, there it is. If this thing wants to fail, it can. And I remember this day it opened up and everything just stopped on a dime. Tick, tick, tick. Sellers just didn't show up. Like we said, the bears just fell asleep here. And after a while, the bulls said, well, fuck it. If there are no sellers, let's take her up. And sure enough, off we go. So that sort of brings us to, okay, well, Brian, that's great and all. There's your opinions. How do I trade this? How do I make some goddamn money from trading? And that sort of brings us to our old buddy, the bot. It was kind of frustrating for some students recently because I ask you if you really want to learn a setup to commit to the setup for 20 trades. The problem is some setups work great in trending markets, some setups work great in ranging markets. And technically speaking, markets range 80% of the time. So if you're going to be hunting range setups 80% of the time, you're going to be in there hunting and finding trades. And then 20% of the time, the market comes along and says, you know what? I think I want to reprice myself. In essence, that's basically what's been happening here. Right off of this fractal, the market has just said, I am a trend, get the hell out of my way. And unfortunately, for those people that are hunting range setups, I can see why they're not laughing right now. They don't find any humor in that statement because this can be very mentally taxing to the range trader. And of course, the setup that we like to follow on this site that speaks to the trend trader is the bot. And it's interesting because a lot of new people to the site that really aren't too familiar with trading, but have just sort of come in and been introduced to this particular setup. I don't have them on here, but the bot has just been botting away the whole damn way up here. And I would argue that, and I think I actually posted this chart literally like back here. Like this is now 3 or 4 days ago. And when I posted this recent bot in the lounge, especially the fact that the 25 entry level, the market itself set the trade up off of that level. Then when I saw that, I was just like, oh, Jesus. And frankly speaking, I'm kind of like, geez, are you going to just simply calm down? You know, as I said before, this isn't healthy. This isn't normal. And absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, this is not sustainable. You need to understand that. It's going to go where it's going to go. That's just the way trading is. That's just the way the market is. But we need to acknowledge that this is not sustainable pace, guys. So with that said, you know, well, Brian, I got to trade. I mean, I got to put, you know, bread on the table, blah, 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 blah. Well, then you got to hunt these trend following setups, try and get yourself in, and just, you know, ride the wave. It's an uncertain world, and absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, guys. Nobody said trading was easy, and you know, during a trending market, it may feel like the bot is incredibly easy. But when this trend ends, the bots will start failing. And, you know, it's interesting. We were hunting lots of bots in altcoins through the summer. And then the trend started to unwind and it started to break, and a lot of the bots started to fail. Right? And that was sort of our sign that, okay, the trending market state has come to an end. Really, I would simply argue that this thing's going to keep on trending until these bot setups start not working. So we just got to you know, if you are a bot trader and this is in your trading plan, you don't have an opinion. Put your opinion away. It's not worth it, because usually it'll be wrong. And you just got to trade the setups. So, you know, what's the situation right here? As we said, we've got the fork coming up here. We've seen previous price action. Markets like to rally into forks. Not that big of a surprise. We also have a huge fundamental catalyst coming through sort of Wall Street side, you know, through the Chicago Mercantile Exchange listing a derivatives product. I see that basically Bitcoin's being talked about on CNBC on almost like a minute-by-minute basis here. So if anything, I've made the argument to you guys, and I think it's probably an excellent tell, is we noticed that, you know, when most of, you know, Wall Street institutions were like, no to Bitcoin, what does Bitcoin do? It rallies. And slowly but surely, those walls are being eaten and broken down. Actually, ironically enough, very much like our thesis with regard to extended markets, in essence, once a market gets completely and unisonly moving in one direction, then we should actually look for the check. And so I would actually make the argument that this thing's going to go up until CNBC and all of them start saying, yeah, you got to buy Bitcoins. As soon as that's happened, then we can start looking for the top. So ironically enough, in a weird sort of way, I hope you guys all saw Jamie Dimon's bullshit and that rant and all that. That was actually a bullish sign for Bitcoin. Does that make sense? As soon as Jamie Dimon goes on Oprah Winfrey or whatever and says, yep, buy Bitcoins, everybody, it's the next best thing since sliced bread, then you know the actual top is here. So go figure. That's sort of the sad part about this game. So what does that mean in the short term? Well, in the short term here, I'm looking at quite literally, I don't see any reason why we can't hit this $8,400 mark. I just, and this is in US dollars. I wouldn't put it past the market. And in a weird sort of way, I almost feel like, guys, one of these days you're going to wake up and you're going to actually see Bitcoin up like $500, $1,000 in one day. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. I actually thought, and I even was tweeting it out, I thought this move here, when they ramped it up here, I even said, holy crap, are they going to pop this thing $1,000? Can you guys see how it's interesting for the level 2 course, we just did point and figure charting, and we have this concept called the horizontal count, where in essence, you're just going to count up all the X's and O's through this range. And the more that it sort of compresses in this range, if it ever releases through the upside, then you actually count X's and O's all the way up, equal amount. It's called the horizontal count. It's a really cool method for target determination. So the point of the matter here is, can everybody see this sort of pent-up energy this thing's building? And I find it fascinating that this was right off of the 5,000 mark, or excuse me, 7,500, right on the bloody nose. That I found shocking. So in essence, all of this is built up energy. And if this thing can accept above here, this thing might just fucking launch, guys. Excuse my French. I could very easily see that happen. You want a short-term bet, where's Ian? Right? Go pull up your 5-minute charts. Can you see how this thing, you could literally just, if anything, it'd be kind of a fun experiment, Wayne. On the break of this high, just go put 0.01 BTC on 100x margin on BitMEX and just see what happens. And if it gets called away from you, so fucking what? You might just be handed an absolute treat here. You never know. That would be a fun experiment. All right, so generally speaking, what direction are we thinking Bitcoin's headed right now? Anyone? I don't think we have to worry about Bitcoin going down right now, that's for sure. And it was interesting, earlier this morning, I actually noticed a pretty really interesting price action here. Can everybody see our little doji gap? And actually, I posted it in the lounge. Now, we would have really liked to have seen this candle close right up here, but do you see the doji bar? And then the market, the next bar, it gaps higher. And it actually, well, like I said, we would have preferred to see it close right up here, but technically speaking, a move above that high is a big buy signal. That's our Joby gap. Anybody wants to know what a Joby gap is, there's our Joby gap in honor of the Joby Meister. Joby gap! We're going to make you famous, sir. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So there's yet another bullish sign. This thing, candlestick-wise, it's trying to point higher here. It should be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing actually pops pretty hard here. Can you also see how this is actually a cute little cup and handle? Can you see the cup and handle formation? Like here, here. There's the cup. And the handle is right here. Isn't that cute? A little cup and handle. So who says you can't learn things on a weekend, eh? What the hell? What time is it? It's noon. Okay, so that's sort of my two thoughts on everything under the sun, including the price of tea in China. Shall we look at some of this fun stuff? So you remember we looked at that chart on the weekend there, and somebody had drawn a channel. That actually might be an idea to take a moment and just explain to you how we draw channels. Really, what you have to think of when you're drawing a price channel is think of market structure. But the interesting thing about channels, actually this isn't a bad one here, let's do this one, is they're actually determined by, not by the market structure itself, but by the move previous to the market structure. So what do I mean by that? Interestingly enough, you could argue that channels are actually determined by the previous move down. So this market structure creates a trend line here. The channel itself is actually determined by this price range. So if you're going to draw your channel, try and draw it off of the market structure signal, and then just literally project that last part, this third part, off of that previous peak. So there's your channel for the S&Ps, for example. Now, I did see a really cool tool that our gentleman that we interviewed last week, he was using it, so I thought I ought to just mention it here, the Andrews Pitchfork, right here. There's I guess the oldest way that I think of using it is something along those kind of lines, where we're going to identify sort of the market structure that the market's working off of. I do know some people actually like to draw it off of there, but I think it works well as resistance for there and there. But also too, let's maybe, it's probably not the best one to use. Let's find some structure. Oh, here we go. So if we go doosh, 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 we can go off of there. Just going to give you levels up there. I do know people that like to go there to there. So that gives you levels to work with here. I don't think I want, you know what I want to do is, I think if I'm going to do a pitchfork module for you guys, I'm going to put together a bunch of charts. I just don't want to do them off ad lib like this because it doesn't explain my thinking very well. So maybe what I'll do is I'll do a little tutorial video on that, just special for you guys before I get into that. Let's maybe pop on over now to the requests and take just a quick boo at some of your ideas. It is noon, so I've been blabbing away here for probably about a half hour, 45 minutes. Wanted to get a link. Okay, so INSN on Cryptopia. This goes out to Philip from 4 days ago. Sorry for the delay, Philip. What was that again? Oh, and if it's Cryptopia, we can't look at it there. You have to go over here. What was that again? It was INSN. INSN. Doosh, 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 doosh. All right, just bumping along its lows. We've often talked about this. Yeah, that's 0, so that's no good. Not a bad idea to try and figure out where. Yeah. So this is an important level. If this ICO deal had some traction, you can clearly see how important that level is now. So this is either going to act as support, market accepts back above it, or it's going to act as resistance going forward. It's just brutal reality. See this happen all the time. Seasonally, not a shock. Who's going to who can tell me what coin I'm going to say, oh, this reminds me exactly like, what's the one I always pull up because it's such a good example? That's right, library credits. Same thing. It's your perfect sort of textbook example of what these guys do to these things through the fall. So last year, where's and I don't know how long these guys have been trading on here. Oh, so it doesn't even show. So last year on sites like Bitrex, right? They came out of the gate, and whether you believe in this story or not, first off, is this a zero print real? I don't think so, but definitely we can look at this low, loses the low, huge loss. Look at the time of year, so cliche. So I'm kind of thinking that, and I even warned people a couple weeks ago when we saw that pop up in altcoin lands. I was worried that's what this was. And we still had one more swoosh to go here before the end of the year. Remember we talked about altcoins before. We had all the altcoins at like minus 75, and I was like, okay, well, we're getting pretty close to a nice washout, but the short term was not down there, right? It was actually positive. So, it sucks, guys. But in essence, for us to know that the altcoin market is washed out, we got to see both of these numbers big and juicy and red and ugly. And we just haven't got there just yet. So, and considering, of course, what Bitcoin's doing here, where the hell's the damn top? I think it makes perfect sense. This is going to go on, we know, for at least another week or two into this silly fork. Then we're going to get some back and forth, right? And if this thing ultimately does top, then my hunch is there's your bottom on these alts. So this one, really, I don't see a heck of a lot of difference between most of the other seasonal action that I see in altcoin land. If anything, what you need to ask yourself with these guys is, what's the fundamental story of this thing? Is it going to make it? Do they actually have a product that's half decent? Have they got an idea that is half decent? Or was this just an ICO shill and the guys just ran away with the money and see you later? Obviously, I can't comment on that. I don't know what the story is. Do we have that's great kind of data I love to see. 16 million coins, that's right in that sort of sweet spot. But $1.7 million market cap, that could be a little bit suspect. I remember back in the day, we liked to hunt for bottoms on these altcoins when they are around about they came screaming down from this multi-million-dollar market cap level down to like $100,000, $200,000. When they had done that, then it was like, okay, this thing's washed out. So sitting at 436 sats, that's pretty damn cheap, considering there's only 16 million coins out. What's the fundamental story? I mean, so far, when I look at the price and I look at the coins, right, you've got my attention. Why is this thing only trade on Cryptopia? And what was the other one? INSN. And Live, right, which is even what I would consider an even more suspect exchange. Why is it over here, and why do the big boys, why are they not interested? So, Philip, was it you who asked about this? I think I saw that was you, wasn't it? Yeah. So what do you think of the fundamentals of this thing? Is it a half decent idea? Do you think it's going to survive? If you like the story and you like the fundamental story, then frankly speaking, I think we got to start stepping up here. OBV, I mean, they've washed it out. It's not screaming buy. Willie, nothing really to write home about, kind of middle of the road. So again, it's not screaming buy. The raw momentum push, again, just big meh. I mean, nothing really to get too excited about. But, fundamentally wise, it sounds to me like it's definitely nanny nibble kind of territory. I don't have any Bitcoin over on Cryptopia, so I couldn't buy some, but I could definitely consider it with that many coins out. Don't know enough about the fundamentals. Well, cool. So if anything, maybe let's add this to sort of our collective watch list. Okay, Philip? It's not a bad idea. Let's keep this on the radar screen. What does the daily chart look like? Yeah. So it's come out of the gate, right? You can see where they tried to bottom it. What's going on here? Is this starting to set up a divergence scenario? You can see Willie, very stupid. Momentum, volume, location, it's attractive. You're not chasing a dream here, that's for sure. If anything, what I would say is probably too late to sell, too early to buy. Almost exact opposite to Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's too late to buy, too early to sell. So if anything, it makes perfect sense. I do see. Do you see this big hole in the charts up here? Look at that, eh? I would say I'd be willing to bet dollars to donuts that the price is going back up there. So what is that? That's 82.94. So from 400, that's basically a nice 20x. Anybody want 20x on their money? I don't know. See, this is the type of coin that a guy like Innie would be like all over. And when it goes up here, he would just be like, boom, boom. More bim, nope, can't use that word. More bunny. That's what the word we're supposed to use, right? More bunny ammunition. More bunny fuel. Opening Cryptopia, entering orders, filled. And then all of a sudden, yeah, there it goes. Well, and he just got in. Okay, let's see what else we got on the map. So thank you, Philip. Really good idea. And as you can see, you've already got some people interested. And this is the kind of collective work I like us to work together on here in this community, right? A good idea is a good idea is a good idea. BCH on Phoenix from Gabby. Oh, okay. I hope Gabby's doing okay these days. BCH on Phoenix. I guess versus Bitcoin? Versus the dollar? I don't know what I want to look at. Boy, up and down like a douche. What time is it? 12:15. So maybe another 15, 20 minutes to go here, guys. As you can see, it looks like I was hunting for reload zones off of this move. We probably should have just kept dragging this up as it makes new highs. Came back down. Looks like it came close to 61.8 there. So I suppose if you're interested in buying, you got to keep dragging those fibs up. Ooh, isn't this interesting? So I don't know if Mr. Kavarkinator's around these days, but can you see how 78.6 lines up perfectly off of that double bottom there? So if you wanted to buy this bad boy, I still think you got to just work your order down in this area here. It looks like that says around 6,000 or so. Nice little divergence coming in here just in the short term, and that makes sense, right? Because it's off the 38.2 tag. So in essence, perfect analogy. Don't go in short if you're a bear. Don't go in short 38.2. And then you got to wait for this to resolve. Can everybody see? This is actually a really textbook example of divergence. There to there. And actually, look at this. We even had a nice little Willy Stupid here. Right there. And look at that. You even get a Davo. Isn't that incredible? Everybody see the Davo there? So nice W in Willy with him stupid. Nice bullish divergence confirmed here on the MACD. Looks like we might have even also got a double divergence. No double divergence. But nice little turn nonetheless. And as we said, actually a really cool example of a Davo right there. Nice little W. And you can see the bulls waking up. Hey, I'm alive, I'm alive. So if anything, hopefully everybody can see Wayne. Can you see the trade here? Mr. El Tangonator. Put that away for now. Can we see the W? So 38.2 tag, double bottom, and let's see where our 50% rule is. $2.14. Oh, that's jerks. You could use 200 period moving average tag. Also a great trade location tool. You see that 200 period? You see how that sort of helps you find trade location, Wayne? Totally use the 200 period moving average. How about the POC? Can you see how the POC? We get, whoa, look at this motherfucker. Look at it go as we speak here. It's going to hit this target as we're talking. Can you see this, Wayne? Does this make sense? What 3 reasons you decide to use? That's entirely up to you, but I can see moving average, POC, 38.2. Don't short into 38.2, Mr. Burchett. All right, if anything, you got to wait for this thing to resolve. This is that resolution happening. And traders, I'm not recommending people take this, but hopefully you can see all the multiple reasons to consider justify risking your hard-earned money. And this might even be an actual key reversal. The low of this candle here, 76.10. This opened up at 76.26. Ooh, just outside. Oh, look at that. Did it hit it? 84.40. Oh, look at that. The high here is 84.40 and the 50% level is 84.54. It'd be interesting to see if 84.40 is 2 to 1. Where does 2 to 1 come in? 2 to 1 is right there. So actually, yeah, it looks like 2 to 1 got hit. That's hilarious. And actually, this is really cool because can you guys see that we're going to get just a mountain of resistance at value high here? Well, it really all depends on what your style is, Wayne. Can you see that there's a divergence that actually is built up all the way through here on the oscillators? Can you see that divergence? So if you waited for the big fat MACD signal, yeah, it's a bit slow. But I can actually see a divergence right in here. And really what catches my attention, I think more than anything else, is the DAVO. Right? W in OBV, W in Willie at the exact same time. And you can even see the W in MACD there. Right? It's tough to see, don't get me wrong. So anyway, really interesting example. Oh, look at that. The target here is 666. That's hilarious. Wonder why it says that. Actually, that must be the number of sats profit. So you're risking 333 to make 666. That seems appropriate. Shane says, watch this video and think about the points he brings on. Be careful, dudes. Okay. What does Change want us to watch? Bcash is garbage compared to Bitcoin. Well, just be damn careful of this whole thing, eh? I can feel the FUD storm brewing. Can you feel it brewing, guys? I can feel it. It's going to get fever pitch into this. I can feel it. It's coming. All right. So regardless of your opinions of Bitcoin BCH, I'm not here telling people to buy or sell. I'm just simply here illustrating this setup. And if anything, once this 50% level is hit, what should I be doing here, Change? If I had bought this thing here, what should I be doing at this 50% level? Okay, I don't know whether I'd be that adamant, but nonetheless, maybe why don't we say liquidating? Yes, tell us how you really feel. I mean, come on, quit BSing us. Just tell us how you really feel. All right, enough said. Was that? What do you think, guys? Is that an illustration? Do you want a screenshot of that? Do you think you could go and find this in the marketplace? Really, all I want to do is just highlight what these setups kind of look like, the criteria to determine location, criteria to determine internal indicator confirmation, and the structure to help me frame the risk that I'm going to take on the trade. You know, hopefully you guys can see that's a pretty good demonstration. The interesting thing here, Wayne, right, you can clearly see if we had said, well, we have to have moving average confirmation to justify us taking this trade, didn't come, did it? So really, it's just just purely a function of what are your reasons going to be, and can you stick to those reasons? If you find that you paper trade a setup and you're like, geez, this just isn't producing trades, well, we got to get back to the drawing board and keep working on our setups. And the great part about it for Wayne, remember, and this is probably just a nice little sort of summary. Maybe we ought to finish off with this today. Please understand, guys, this is a twofold battle. There's two different battles that have to go on here. The first is actually building a plan and holding yourself to account whether you can actually follow the plan. I think Wayne has actually got to the point where he can, and he does, which is a huge achievement for him. He understands the necessity of the plan. He understands how to build a plan. He understands how to implement the plan. Now it's just a question of, well, this setup sucks. Let's just go find a different setup. What are my 3 reasons? Rinse, repeat. And I've tried to convey this to people like Wayne. You're at a very interesting stage where you're there. You don't even realize that you're there. All we got to do is just find a setup that works for Wayne, and fuck, you're off to the races, man. You've actually got the hard part of all this done. So just keep on keeping on. Okay, so BCH opinions aside, just have fun in the market, right? Sebastian, it's interesting. I did just see Sebastian's here now. He's off, playing with setups in the futures markets and playing FU moves, right? Just having a great old time. We introduced him to options, and now he's off hunting options ideas all over the place. There's a million different ways to skin this market, guys. So many different ways. As I had said in earlier today's broadcast, I'm so excited to get this project going with James back up and running. I don't know whether it's a good idea for your sort of mental health to be just so laser drilled in on one asset and one market. It might drive you a little crazy, especially during markets like this where you're almost a little bit handcuffed. I also think it's a great idea to take advantage of the other side of that and just simply try and go and scoop up some of these absolute steals that are going on in altcoin land because of this nutso Bitcoin market. That is a good idea, and I've been seeing a lot of people talking about this. I mean, look at the volume coming in on this. This is beautiful. Heard a lot of people talking about looking at your coins versus US dollars now too. I think that's actually not a bad idea as well. Obviously with Bitcoin up and down like a it might actually help you see trends a little clearer if you actually price these in US dollars too. Bottoms might be a little clearer. So something to think about there as well. Okay, I'm about to head off and have an awesome afternoon. I hope, fingers crossed, please, 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 with my son. Obviously, you know what I'm thinking with regard to BTC, and really I would argue that, interesting. Look how we couldn't break out through the top of the cup and handle here. I would just simply say if I'm gone and you see price through the cup and handle, then away we go. If we fail through here, then some more backfilling is needed. On balance, I'm still thinking that we're working our way higher. And according to the bot here, at the very worst, you should get stopped out at scratch if you took this bot long trade. But really, ultimately, I'm thinking that we're going to work our way up into here over the next few sessions. So. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it at that for today, guys. Hope you have yourselves an awesome rest of your day. All the best, and bye for now.